Hi guys, welcome back to Where the Gnomes Live. Today I'm going to show you how I aged some coffee sticks. Now these wooden coffee stir sticks I've been using for years in my gnome house, and I build floors out of them actually. They cut easily with scissors. You can stain them real easily with instant coffee, which I've been doing all these years. I'll quickly show you my floors in the gnome home. Okay, so here's my gnome home, and it's full of wooden floors. I've done wooden floors throughout. And that's all coffee stir sticks. Every floor in this house is pretty much coffee stir sticks. And what I do with them is, after they're glued in place, I use instant coffee to stain them, give them that beautiful color, and I don't have to use chemicals or breathe in chemicals. Instant coffee. After you stain it with instant coffee, you have to seal it with something to keep that color in place. So I use a water-based sealer. And I have tutorials here on YouTube on how I've done these floors, but I recently aged some wood here in my real house. It's this sewing table right here. Let's see if I can back up. The lighting's not that great, so it's hard to see. But I actually took videos as I did this. This is fir that my dad cut me, and I aged it and then I whitewashed it. So I'm going to throw in a couple of those video clips and then you can see what I'm talking about. I'm about to age this wood here to make it look like old barn wood. And now I'm just going to paint it on. Apparently it's that easy. Alright, I'm about halfway done. You can see the reactions already starting to happen. That looks really cool. Here we are an hour after the vinegar was put on. Look at that awesome color. This is just a shadow here. I put my fans on it to speed up the drying process. Okay, so you can see the drastic change I've seen in the wood, and of course my mind immediately went to miniatures, of course. And I thought about my coffee stir sticks. Now that aging effect will do different things on different pieces of wood. And I'm going to show you real quick what I'm talking about. So this is fir right here. This is what my tabletop is made out of, and this is the before, and this is just with one brush of that vinegar, just one brush of that vinegar, and you can see the huge difference. My whole tabletop looked like that. And then this is cedar wood here, and that's again just one brush with that vinegar. Let it dry, and that's a big change you see. So with the stir sticks, this I doesn't say on the package what they're made out of, but I looked it up online and apparently it's birch wood. So you don't get such a big effect with the vinegar, but you can change the wood quite drastically. So I'm going to show you in the next couple of clips what I did to get these different tones here. You can't get any more simple than this. You just take your vinegar, and depending on how much you want, to do this whole big table that I just showed you, I use just a half a jug of a 1 liter. So for a little job, I'm just going to guesstimate. I think that's enough right there. And then you take your superfine wool. I'm just going to take 1 pad of superfine wool, and I'm just going to break it up. Just push it all down, make sure it's all covered with the vinegar. And then you just let that sit for 24 hours. If you want to contain the smell of the vinegar, put a lid on it, and just set it aside for 24 hours. Alright my friends, 24 hours has gone by. Now you want to strain the vinegar out, and a cheesecloth would work great, but I don't have one of those. So I'm just going to put a tea towel over and then strain it through that. Okay, and then you can discard the used up still wool. Just throw that away. So depending on how you want to do this, like you can build your floor onto your template or put your floor into your dollhouse or whatever, and then you can take this that's been strained and just brush it on. Just brush it on your work that's already been built. If you want to do a whole batch at one time, like I've done here, I've pre-did a whole package of sticks. Then what I did was I just opened up the package and I just dumped them in there. And I just mixed them up until I could see that all of them were covered with the vinegar. Then you can just let that sit for about 30 seconds to a minute, just to make sure that every single stick in there gets a vinegar solution on it. Okay, so once you're done that, then you can just take your sticks out, and you might want to wear gloves. I didn't wear gloves anytime I've done this, and I just washed my hands after, but those with a little bit more sensitivities, maybe some rubber gloves would be good. Okay, so I just take a towel and I'd lay out my sticks and let them dry. Just spread them out, make sure the air can get to all of them. You could set a fan on these too. I've done that, just put a couple fans on them, they dry a lot faster. Okay, so it's kind of hard to show you the color difference on film. It's not totally picking it up. It's not the best color, like I'm not totally in love with it, but you can see it does change the color quite a bit. So I just dipped the one end in, and that's totally dry. So here's my sticks that were dipped into that big pan there for a minute or so. These are the ones that were dipped, and these are the ones that weren't. So you can see it has changed the color quite a bit. But to age these even more than they have been here, what I did was I took the vinegar solution. This is the solution here that was soaked for 24 hours inside the still wool, and then I strained it into here. What I did was I poured it back into my bowl. Then I took another piece of still wool and I broke it up, and I did the same thing. I let that sit overnight. Alright, these aren't attached yet, but I just made a template out of a piece of cardboard, and I'm going to glue down half untreated and half treated. So this is how I make my floors in my dollhouse. I just make a template first. And that's a whole heck of a lot of glue, so I'm going to take some of that off of there. You don't want too much glue because it will seep up between the sticks, and then you'll have to wash the sticks off before you put anything on them, because the glue will act like a barrier, and then you'll have white spots. So just put a very thin layer of glue. I have other tutorials on making my dollhouse floors, but for the purpose of this video I'm just doing this fairly quickly, because this isn't really about making floors. This is just trying to show you how to age those coffee sticks. So, a different animal altogether here. Okay, so I just start putting my sticks down. Now on a real floor, you would probably want to stagger these, so you'd cut them up and stagger them, just like a real hardwood floor. But again, for the purposes of this video and to speed things along, I'm just going to do them all one length. The glue isn't dry yet. I've just washed off whatever seeped up in between them, because I was going so quickly. Some of the sticks did have some glue seeping up, so I washed that off with just a cloth and just water. Okay, now I'm going to set a book on top of that and just leave it for about a half an hour and make sure it's completely dry. Look at the difference in color. So those sticks here were just dipped once in the vinegar solution and let dry, and look at the color. It does look like aged wood. Each stick has a slightly different color to it than the next one. I love that. Alright, so I've done previous tutorials on working with these coffee sticks. They cut easily with scissors. Not a problem. I've already done this edge here. So what I do sometimes when I'm working with a straight edge, I'll just use my X-Acto knife and I'm going to score all those pieces laying over the edge. So I'm pressing down pretty hard. You just want to make sure that the glue is completely dry. So you just want to check your piece and try to lift it up a little. Try to lift up one of the sticks, and if they don't lift up, then they're ready to be cut. Okay, now that I've scored them, they should just snap off easily. Okay, I'm ready to start brushing the vinegar solution on. So again, I just took out the steel wool, or strain it, whatever you want to do, into another bowl. So you just have vinegar left and the steel wool is gone. And now you're going to take a paintbrush. I'm just going to move this aside. So brushing it on. And the smell is quite pungent, so you want to open up a window for sure, or do it outside if you can. I just put the hairdryer on this and took the majority of the moisture off, so the wood is still damp. I can feel it's still damp, but the wetness is gone. So now I'm going to set it underneath a book. But look at the color already. It's just been a couple of minutes. Look how much that changed. Alright, I'm going to set this aside for about an hour. You'll see even more of a color change after about an hour. So because this was wet, I'm just going to put wax paper over top, then put my book. Alright, so this was my pre-treated side here, and you can see it just a little bit more of a color there with the second coat. So I'm thinking that the side that wasn't treated just needs to catch up, that's all. So there's not really a difference you'll get between soaking them in the vinegar or just brushing the vinegar on. So you get the same effect. So that's, I was kind of curious about that, just to see how it would turn out, if you'd get very much of a difference in the colors. But I think it's beautiful. I think that's absolutely beautiful, and you can see all the different variations in color, and each stick has a little bit of a different tone to it. I love that. Alright guys, we are on day 3, and the reason why we're on day 3 is because I wanted to try some things out last night before I wrap up this video, just to do a little bit of experimenting. But first I'll just show you the piece we were working on together. So this side here was the pre-soaked pieces. You know, remember the ones that we soaked for 1 minute, then we glued them on. Then I glued on the untreated wood, and that's the difference. So I'm not sure why there's such a big difference, actually, because they have the same amount of vinegar on them. But pre-soaking them and then letting them dry before adding a vinegar again does make them a bit darker. Okay, and then so this one here, same thing. I'm not sure why it came out so dark. I guess the vinegar had been sitting longer inside the still wool, and that's about 4 or 5 coats of vinegar, letting them dry in between. Look at that gorgeous color. Beautiful. And then the untreated wood. And then this one is the most exciting for me. I just love this. Last night I thought, I'm going to try out soaking them all night long. Okay, so these ones here are ones that I soaked all night long. I went to bed around 11, got up around 7:30, pulled them out of the vinegar, let them dry, and they actually turned out the same color as the ones that were just soaked for a minute. So not much of a difference there. But this side, lots of difference, because I took my pan and I laid down sticks, just like this, side by side, nice and flat against the pan. Then I took a piece of still wool and just opened it up, and I dipped that in vinegar. So it wasn't soaking or anything. I just dipped it in vinegar, and then I laid it on top of the sticks like that. Just laid it on top so the sticks were all covered, and left it alone. Got up this morning, took the still wool off, and the sticks were black. Sorry, I forgot to turn on my video to show you, but they were mostly black, like this color here, with some, I could see some of the rust. And then after they dried, got this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous color. I absolutely love that. You could use that in a old scene, like a farm scene, you know, maybe an old tractor was sitting on top of your wood and it was rusting away there for years. That's the look you get. And one more thing, it did take a cloth today, and I wiped the boards just to see what would happen, and nothing happened to this side, but on this side I was able to take off some of the rust. So to keep that rust in place, I would suggest sealing it in, and I just used a water-based satin sealer and brushed that on there, and now that rust will stay in place. So there you go, guys. I hope that gave you some ideas, sparked some ideas for you anyway, to build some floors or something else. You can build a door and get different tones depending on how you do it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.